Welcome to a football show here on the 440 Sports Network, YouTube and Facebook. Unsure where Twitter is, but if you can find us, please share the product. We would love to have you in the comment section. Please do so that way. Thumbs up, notifications turned on the YouTube page. That is Paul Kuharsky. I am Braden Gall. We are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages and all the great local tap rooms in this market in Nashville, Tennessee. So there you go. Good afternoon, PK. How are you, sir?
Good to see you. I'm well rested. Boy, you're off school today, yeah?
No, kids are in school today.
Oh,
yeah.
We had Friday off and today off, so
Friday?
I didn't really realize that. So my kid came walking out of his room at 11:30. I was like, "Oh, I forgot you were off today."
You're here still?
Yeah. He's like, "I'm tired." I'm like, "It's 11:30 and you just came out of your room. How are you tired?"
Dude, those are the days, man. Like wake up. 9 o'clock is early, Dad. Like, what are you talking about? Although at least the high school start times in Davidson County will be pushed back next year. So there you go. That's not something you care about. So we're gonna get into this logo thing. What's up, Caden? We're gonna get into the logo thing because there is some truth to it. There is plenty of not truth to it, and we're gonna try to explain what is what. Where did this come from? Why is it happening? What is the actual intelligent thing for the Titans to do moving forward? No one's having that conversation, right? It's just, here's a thing that could be true. What's your opinion on it? And then everyone has a take. And there's actually probably a smart marketing strategy here for the Titans to actually employ. And we'll get to that a little bit later on as well. The finalized coaching staff. I don't think you and I have had a chance to talk about the finalized final coaching staff. People are up in arms with a couple of last names that are involved in the front office and coaching staff, namely Sala and Borgonzi. We can, is that a big deal? And then maybe a couple of names in the draft to keep an eye on that are, let's say, increasing in value or cost, stock up, as it were, some players that, I thought the Titans should be targeting middle rounds. Now that might be way more expensive to get some of those players. So some guys to keep an eye on as we are a week and some change away from heading to Indianapolis. When do you go to Indy, PK? You going?
Monday. How about you?
Monday. I am not going. I'm out of town the whole following week with forced family vacation with spring break. So I got priorities.
I've got really interesting stagger. I've got Combine, Belmont spring break, and family spring break. So it doesn't permit much to really happen.
Fascinating.
I can't miss the Belmont stuff for the family spring break. I couldn't. I'm missing classes for the Combine. Nothing lined up well.
Yes. There you have it. Okay. All right. So let's start with like how this Titans logo sort of thing happened. Do you have a tracing point? Like we can trace the failure of the Titans front office back to the Jack Conklin 5th-year option, right? Like we can trace all of the bad decisions by John Robinson and what led to Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel's firing and Brian Callahan. We can do all that back to they didn't pick up Jack Conklin's 5th-year option. Is there a moment that you can trace this back to that has some validity and is a legitimate reason why this is happening right now with fans, social media, etc.?
I, by the way, don't abide by the Jack Conklin. I go to Isaiah Wilson. I'm okay with not doing the Jack Conklin option as long as you replace him satisfactorily, which they failed.
Did not. Yeah.
I think look, this we could go all the way to. The first spotting was at the Titans house, right? Where they're selling tickets to the new building. So it's spotted there. This new logo, circle with the T and the stars. And then, so there's speculation on it out of there. Then it was on this plush football that's put up for sale by Fanatics. They put up plush footballs for some reason. Then Easton Freeze of 440 got
formerly of 440.
Formerly of 440. So I meant to say A to Z. Yeah. Got some level of confirmation that it's one of the marks. So, it would seem that it's a presumption, but it would seem obvious that it would be the primary mark.
I want to say first, I do want to back up 1 second. We're going to show a lot of stuff here that kind of adds to the conversation into conspiracy theory. And you posted paulkuharsky.com. Of course, you had a photo. I guess this was something that is not in the lobby anymore at the Titans facility, but a photo that you took a long time ago. And we'll show all of that here coming up in a second. But I want to make it's not really technically a new logo.
No, it's not a new logo at all. It was on the lobby floor of the Titans headquarters starting in 1999. 1999. It's 27 years old. They haven't gone out and got a new mark created for this.
Let's put this up here, and we can you guys can see this, and I'll work through your comments, and we shall see. Yes, Coach Wills, I'm here for PK to debunk everything. Yeah, so I'll put this up, and this is a bunch of different photos, and we'll talk through all of them. You need to be watching on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook to get the sense of this. Okay, so the picture you're looking at on your screen right now on the top left is a marble floor in the Titans facility dating back to the 1900s, the 1990s.
1900s.
Yeah, that's right. I guess that's true. And what that is, though, it has sharp, pointy edges on all 3 points of the T that touch the circle with the TriStar. That is the actual. Outside of some minor detailing, that is the actual logo on the helmet today. It just doesn't have flames on it.
Right.
And so I think people need to realize it's not even, it's just, and the way they explained it, and I think you wrote about this as well, like there's certain things that flames are just very hard to build.
Yeah.
Right?
So I was told that this was not considered an official mark, but was something they used occasionally in situations where centering something or having the flames was just too difficult. And so it's like the inside of the current logo. And they used it, as we see here, on the 22nd Element logo, which came out in about 2018. This is on 22nd Element hats. That's a ticket membership deal. That's in the bottom of the 3 here in the middle with some color. So navy blue inside the circle, a light blue circle, 2 shaded T, and red stars. And we don't know about the coloration of this, if this in fact is the thing. So the bottom left is from the plushie, which is all light blue interior and just a red circle. Now, those are dumbed down generally, those plushie logos. So people have really run with the color scheme from that, which I think is a mistake.
Well, and so again, if you look at the actual flaming thumbtack, for lack of a better term, their current primary logo on the helmets, all of these almost are identical to what's already there, minus the flames. It's just not the flames. Now, the one on the bottom left, which is the one that got leaked via Fanatic Store or whatever, does not even look like, and I'll just say this, it does not really actually look like a produced, graphically designed professional logo. It just doesn't. It looks like a lot of times on shops and stores like that, you would see sort of a mock-up of something. Like it's very possible that they had it. Oh, here's a temporary logo for you guys to use for right now to kind of load up a location in the store for these products, and we'll get them ready. And then, sure, maybe it got accidentally leaked into the store, right? Like that could be the thing.
And also, people are panicking there about the T's the T doesn't have the sharp points.
Right.
And I was going to say, well, you don't make sharp points necessarily on cloth like that, but the stars have sharp points that are smaller than the points on the T would be. So,
right.
It lends itself to debate.
So, and I think what's interesting, so there's a lot of there's plenty of questions here. And
Let's talk through the rest of the picture real quick.
Okay.
Top right and bottom right. This is something somebody sent to me on Twitter, which is what you get when you finish up your membership as a season ticket holder. So that's a pick, like a thick gold or whatever pick that has the logo embossed on it. The certificate has the logo embossed on it. And then the third of the 3 stripes, if you look very carefully at the left wall there of the suite, that logo is on the wall there hanging, a gold T, gold stars inside with a white circle.
So again, on the 22nd Element, on the renderings in the stadium, on the things they send to their season ticket holders, and on the floor of the facility, the logo has been there the whole time and still is in fact inside of the flaming part of this already. And so I think that we've got to kind of step back from that and say, all right, let's just purely based on strategy. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, there you go.
Here's
That's the exact same logo.
the exact same logo, right?
It's already
just without the flames.
It's already the logo, guys.
So we're calling it new, but I mean, it was on the floor of the facility in 1999. Right. It's 27 years old, at least.
So I think there's some important questions, like from a marketing and PR. Like, let's back up for a second from all this and say, should the Titans rebrand, reinvent themselves, reframe themselves? Is when they open a new stadium a smart time to do that? There is plenty of actual intelligent reasons to do that. They did the rebrand in 2018 with their uniforms. There's enough time now, 6 or 7 seasons, to decide whether or not they like that direction or not. Last year, they decided to go away from the Navy uniforms. They're going to go baby blue uniforms as their home uniforms. If they want to take that dark blue and kind of add red, and add some red and take away some navy blue, that's not a total rebrand. That's a minor uniform tweak. They have not changed the logo since the very first day that it was introduced in the Tennessee Titans organization in this city. It's obviously 27, 28 years, totally fair like it all makes sense to do it now with the new stadium coming, with the new quarterback, with the new coach, the new front office. It all is a very smart, rational and logical time to do all of this. But if all you do is get rid of the flames and you still have that same logo that's been there on the helmet since day one, I'm not even sure I'd call it a new logo. I might call it a refresh or a rebrand. Now, if they do what's happened on the internet, PK, which is people take this one logo and then they add it, they change the helmet and they put a red face mask on it and it's a white helmet and it's this and that. That is a little bit more of an overhaul to some degree. They obviously want to lean in to the Houston colors and the Love You Blue stuff. Here's another element of conspiracy theories. Little kernels of truth always make the story easier to understand and follow and believe. Cam Ward loves red. That's why he wears red cleats. He wants red. He loves red. Oh, new franchise quarterback loves red. They put more red in the uniform. Cam probably wanted it and asked for it.
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I mean, I think she's going to Oilers look. She's going to an Oilers look. Now, Warren Moon, I don't think saw enough to proclaim the futuristic thing that got another thing that got carried away. I think these are going to be very Oiler-esque uniforms, minus the oil derrick. And it seems like with this circle logo. Now, I've seen people take it and carry it into a shield. And if it looks like a shield, it gets cooler to me. The flat, very plain look that comes out of this plushy thing is not good. And I think Jordan's on this. I'm kind of with him on this one. So I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but every now and then I'm like, that's good business. Leak the shittier logo to fanatics and make the fanatics fanatical until unveiling the good one, under promise, over deliver. If this is actually happening, it's a trial balloon, PK, and it's a trial balloon with a graphic and a logo that will never actually, there is no way that will be the finalized logo. No, but the finalized logo is finalized. In terms of it being a trial balloon so that they could tweak it from here, that's not happening. Everything's finalized. If these uniforms are coming out this year, and if they're presenting them to the rookies in April when the first round draft pick gets on stage with the commissioner, there's no room for them to try something. Now, and I think that's a little bit extreme to say that Fanatics is intentionally leaking something. Fanatics is shit. Fanatics F's up constantly. Right. And this is Fanatics effing up. This is not some orchestrated leak.
No.
Now, and are the Titans making a mistake by being so quiet and so coy, as opposed to Washington teasing that something new is coming, as opposed to Atlanta saying that something new is coming? I don't know what the right strategy is there. I just know that the Titans always wind up looking like they presume something is going to hold and something doesn't hold. They let Ascension get it out there that Ascension has ended their relationship with them and leave room for me to go report. They say we're going to announce something in March, and within a day I report that Vanderbilt is their new medical partner. Now, I love that they leave room for me to go to report that. But is that an efficient way of operating?
No. Well, and again, if I was not trying to imply that this is somehow some mastermind scheme executed by brilliant PR strategists. That's not at all what I meant.
Accidental.
Yeah, and what happens is you go, oh, okay, that's not actually like what I meant by that's not the actual logo. I mean that to me, and look, this is just 17 years.
Final iteration is better than that.
This is me having 17 years working at a magazine company and having graphic design being my background for a long time. Like that is not what the logo will look like. Meaning that the layout might be that. The layout might be similar, might be exact even, might have the circle and the stars placed there and the T right there in that one place, and it might look exactly like the thumbtack without the flames. But the way you do, like you layer so many things on a professional logo. There are layered bevels, there's embossment, there's so many different things you do.
Texture.
Yes. And that is a flat, cheap looking store like
knockoff. It
JPEG
looks like,
knockoff. That's right.
Like you got it from China, and it's sold 8 blocks from the stadium, just out of range of the people who police these kind of things.
That's exactly right. King on comms says the thumbtack T was never an issue. I just want the flames back. They haven't gone anywhere yet, technically. It made it that much more unique, in my opinion. Without it, it's a corporate HQ logo. And again, we're not getting into necessarily your and my personal opinion of a logo. I will say, having done this for Athlon for almost over 15 years, uniforms and logos have a very special place in people. Like they make people go crazy.
Unbelievable.
People go crazy for this stuff. He follows that up with Oilers mixed with the Tennessee Titans logo is unoriginal, in my opinion. The people of Tennessee embraced the Oilers, but wanted our own identity. And here we are, 2 different eras. So let me ask you this. If it is largely the Houston Oilers uniform, which is what it sounds like the team would like to go to, and they sent us that signal last year before the season by removing the dark blue. If that is the direction they want to go with either a white helmet or a Love You Blue helmet, with the new logo, with a little bit more red, and it looks like the Oilers, but it is Titans logos and branded Titans. What do you personally feel about that?
Look, and I'm not one of these people that's obsessed with uniforms, but I do think the Houston Oilers uniform is the best shelved uniform in sports, and it's hers, and it's theirs. And it seems a shame for that color combination, which is very distinct, to not be in use. There's a lot of navy blue out there, right? Red, white, and blue is America's primary color scheme. And so I like more light blue. I like the Oilers color scheme. The thing is that historically they were desperate to get away from it at the beginning. And so going back to it 27 years later seems a little bit contrary. They were desperate to get away from the white helmet. They did not want a white helmet initially. I know for a fact, I reported that they couldn't get a non-white helmet to work in the initial uniform set with that logo. They took it out. They had people run around. They filmed it. They could not get the logo to show up, and they had to go on white in order to get it to work. And it took them till when? 2018 to get to the blue that they wanted. And now, after they finally got to the blue that they wanted, how many years later they're going back to white already?
Do you get
so it seems to me like there's like not a long-term vision and certainty there, and that to me is reflective of the organization.
Do you get the sense that it is the white helmet or the baby blue helmet?
I see. I don't know. This is where you start to get blurred by all of this stuff that you see online, which is not real, but it imprints on your brain anyway. I would think Oiler-esque, it's going to be a white helmet based on the Oiler-esque thing. And the things I've heard from reliable people are that she really wants the Oilers thing out of not largely, but this kerfuffle with the Texans over the uniform. And I think the widespread national affection for those Oiler throwbacks is like, hey, we're pretty anonymous in these Titans uniforms. And when we wear those Houston Oiler uniforms, everybody's like, whoa, those are slick. And so in that regard, it's not illogical to say we should have uniforms that look like that.
And if we are, and this is going to sound insulting to a lot of you guys in the comments or like the diehard fans that don't like this direction, but if you are sitting in a like marketing and branding 101 meeting, you got to differentiate yourself and you want to have a positive reaction to it. And those uniforms, those Houston Oiler-esque love you blue uniforms, they are totally differentiated in the NFL market, and people really like them that aren't diehards. And that is what a rebrand or a brand in general should always do. It has to do a few things. And so while there are plenty of you that love the flaming thing and love the dark blue and maybe love the red and like all this other stuff, like you guys are diehards, you're probably going to buy the stuff and the gear and watch the games and go and support the team no matter what. But what branding needs to do is it needs to be instantly identifiable from a TV screen, from across the room or in a bar. And to your point about the helmets, like I like the navy blue helmets. I think it looks kind of old school. It kind of looks like an old college football team, and I like that look. I think that's a good look, but you cannot see the logo on the helmet the way you can see a singular circular logo with color on a white helmet. It's just is what it is.
And I think you're dead on there, Braden, with the instantly identifiable. But I think we could have a very circular conversation there and a good one. It's instantly identifiable, but as what? And the people of Nashville are going to say, look, we wanted to be not Houston. And here 27 years later, we're going back to looking instantly identifiable as Houston again. Yeah. But I think the Titans could say, look, we gave you what you wanted, a very non-Houston thing, and it hasn't really taken off. Now, we haven't given you the level of football to make it instantly identifiable, but we still qualify very much as a small market team. And quite frankly, this level of nostalgia for the flaming thumbtack is only appearing now when it appears to be going away. There was no deep affection for this logo throughout its 27 years of existence. And it is interesting. You know, look, I'm a sentimentalist too. I do not like change. I generally believe that any team, and the Titans are borderline on this. They haven't won a Super Bowl, so I would say no. But they have won an AFC championship, and those uniforms have been gone for some time. But a team like the Denver Broncos, who had a Super Bowl history in those old uniforms, I think once you reach a certain level of success, you should never change. Never. And I don't. The Patriots, who were in Super Bowl in those old uniforms, never. That should never change, or you should only tinker with that. Pat the Patriot should be, you know, and I know the Patriots have had monstrous success in that new uniform, but it's inferior to the old uniform with the old logo. Never change from anything that has substantial history to it.
The red Patriots uniform is awesome. Like, it is awesome. I love it.
And the Denver old ones are superior.
Tampa Bay Bucks, the creamsicles are a great uniform. And in fact, I think
Scott Van Pelt says all the time, and anytime he shows a highlight, I'll remind you guys, these are available to you on a full-time basis.
Well, and on the truth of the matter is, and this is why, like, I'm curious about some of you guys in the comments, and I think this is, like, to your point, I think it's really interesting because I think, and Chris, yeah, good to see you. Shout out there. Color scheme of uniforms are awesome. Would love some Navy accents. It's the minimalist logo that most of us hate. I don't think you guys should look at what is circulating on social media as what the logo will look like. I don't think that looks like a grainy,
better version of that.
Yes. It will be finely tuned with details, and if that's the case, it will look very different.
I don't know that I'm going to love it. Looks like a shoulder patch.
Sure. And so what I want to get, like, what I think is really interesting is if the Bucks uniform, because when I think of going back to, and I guess it's just bright colors from the 70s and 80s and 90s, I guess is just what it is. When I think of the Broncos Orange Crush and I think of Tampa Bay and I think of those uniforms, to Scott Van Pelt's point, like, you can go back to these anytime you want. We had a push to modernize college football and pro football uniforms all in the late 90s. It started with the Broncos and that John Elway team that went to the Super Bowl. The Miami Hurricanes played in 2 national championship games in those brand new, sort of like with all the piping and the extra stuff.
Too much.
And that was a stylistic, fashionable thing at the time, which is also right when the Titans were invented. And I like, why don't folks who love the Titans and are sort of apprehensive around bringing Oilers stuff back? Oh, we want to be the Titans. Like, why is that? I'm curious about the disconnect there. It is your logo. It is your franchise's logos and colors, and they can wear them. They look great. It's easily identifiable. It is objectively a better uniform. Most of you in the comments are saying how much you don't like the gray, and you don't like the gray shoulder pad stuff, and you don't like the way they look. You don't like the Navy helmets.
It's silver, technically.
Then why? But so what is why are fans, even the purist who loves the Titans for what they are, like, you can still maintain the Titan thing, Athens of the South and the Parthenon and the whole, like, you can still maintain that brand, but do it with a more identifiable color scheme that objectively looks better, in my opinion. Is there like, I'm trying to figure out where the disconnect is between the fans who want their own thing but like refuse to acknowledge the past, even though the past is owned by this franchise. Like, it is theirs. They own it.
Yeah. I just think people can't. I think you summed it up well there. They can't make all of that mesh. They can't make all of that mesh. And I think it'd be a different story if this team had taken hold of this town in a different way. And look, a lot of that's on the Titans for not having won enough, but it's also a city full of transplants where we see regular takeovers of the stadium, where I expect it to be the same in the new building. And if you've got Raiders jerseys, and Bills jerseys and Broncos jerseys taking up a good share of great seats when those teams come to town, then Amy Adams Strunk should see the jerseys that she wants, not the jerseys that you want. I mean, I'm certain she would hope that they're one and the same. But if she's got a preference now for a color scheme based on the reaction to seeing those jerseys in play, or whatever, you know, I don't know. The affection for these uniforms doesn't seem that big to me. And this Nashville identity crisis, it seems like, just have some confidence in Nashville. Nashville's doing just fine.
Right.
And if we borrow some colors because the team happened to come from another place, well, let's make them our colors.
Well, and they're not even borrowing it technically, right? Like,
we own them, but they're
right.
used to, you know, there's a lot of debate. Whose are they?
Let's
they're Houston's to a degree, but so what?
Sure.
We come out of it the winners. They're ours now.
Oh, and I guess in my opinion is, again, it's hard for me to be objective on this because I think the original uniform is not a particularly attractive uniform. Certainly anything invented, I would argue any uniform invented in the mid to late 90s is not an attractive uniform in football in general. A lot of the changes that were happening, I don't think were very good. And I actually think the 2018 rebrand was a huge step in the right direction. I actually really liked it. Got simpler. It got a little bit more old school. It got a little bit less sort of like 90s, you know, and I thought it looked really good. But if you're upset about losing that one, you are upset then about losing 7 years of tradition here, like 6 years of tradition. It is not a lot of football tradition you're upset about. And no one is clamoring for the 2004 uniform, right? Like the 2005 uniform. Like, no one's clamoring for that one. And you can make with this kind of a rebrand, which, again, I think if you're talking about being identifiable, selling it and making money, and, oh, by the way, it appeals to the owner's heartstrings to some degree. You are launching a new stadium. You have a second-year just finished a rookie quarterback season with the number 1 overall pick, with a rebuilt front office and a brand new head coach. This is the right time to do something like this.
And a lot of people say, why not next year? Well, already we see the logo in these renderings. Well, we're going to see the stadium, you know, more and more. It's going to become more and more obvious. You got to get ahead of it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's work through a bunch of these. They are Houston-based colors. I get that, Mike, but you can kind of retake ownership of them. If you bring them back with Titans branding on them, you can kind of retake that.
Hey, you can't beat Houston on the field. You can beat them in the color scheme.
There you go. I mean, and it's not hard to beat the Texans uniforms. Like, some of those uniforms, especially some of those third ones they've won in the playoffs, are atrocious. Local fans are spoiled, says CRA. The Titans went to the Super Bowl in year 1.
They're not spoiled. Titans fans seem to think that 5 years ago being the number 1 seed in the AFC was 500 years ago.
Bustin Diamond says, we just don't have the history as the Titans to be a minimalist with the logo. The Packers, Bears, Giants, etc. all have vast and great history.
Well, those minimalist logos are minimalist because they were created at a time when logos were, I mean, you weren't using AI and things like that. That graphic design was minimalist.
True.
They're old. That's what makes those logos great. They're old.
Yeah. The N and the Y on the Giants, way better than the Giants, in my opinion. But
Green Bay is just that G. And the reason it's cool isn't because it looks cool. It's cool because it's old.
Yeah. Yeah. And why not like take some ownership of these colors back to Nashville and like recapture that and say, no, that's ours. We've got it. We own it. We're going to use it. And we're going to, I think they'd be more pleasant to watch on the screen objectively.
I think it's weird to love navy. I mean, navy's just such a base.
It's good color though.
Color.
You're wearing navy right now.
But I mean, I've got every color in my closet, right? I rotate through stuff. The other thing that strikes me as weird and is a question I want to know is like, did they look at anything new? Like for a long time, people have said, well, make the secondary logo the primary logo. They wanted the sword, right? It sounds like they're moving away. A to Z says they're moving away from Greek stuff. The sword, to me, has grown more and more cartoonish.
Yeah, I agree.
Feels like a Flintstone-y kind of thing.
I agree.
But that's the secondary logo. This logo, you could say, was the third logo. Now that we're seeing that, now that I was in the shower and had a recollection that I used to walk on this logo in the lobby all the time.
I didn't need that visual.
Well, don't picture me in the shower. Picture the steam coming out of my head. But it was in the package. It's in the logo, like you're saying, and they've used it. Not prominently, but a lobby floor is a place where everybody in the organization has stepped up until they reconstructed that building starting during COVID in 2019, 2020. It's been in their thing. Did they even consider some new things? Or did they just say, we're going to switch to this thing that's in our stable?
Well, and that's sort of where like the root of the story I find interesting as well. Like if we're going to write these huge stories and they're going to have this much reaction to a rebrand, then there needs to be a rebrand. This is not a rebrand, in my opinion. This is a tweaking of a logo. Like the Cracker Barrel logo was an actually new logo. That was something that didn't exist before. It was completely different stylistically. This is literally just this is like having the Photoshop PSD up in your Photoshop and clicking like the eyeball on like 3 layers. And just taking the flames off. That's all this is. This is not a massive change to what the team really looks like on a regular basis. You combine it with the new stadium and you combine it with a prioritization of baby blue and adding a little red to it. And all of a sudden it feels more like a rebrand, but it's really not. It's just really not. We're not going to talk free agents today. Tune in this week on Thursday with Nick, and maybe next week. We've got combine and free agent talk all coming up here momentarily. So, Tom, I apologize. We're not going to hit that too much today. Chris says, we're going from the flaming thumbtack to just a thumbtack. Now, my question,
put out the fire.
My question is like, I think simple logo. Like, let me back up. In general, simple logos are better for branding purposes. Just period. The simpler and more basic and more recognizable and more identifiable your logo is and your brand is, the better off your brand and your logo actually is. Does that mean that this one looks corporate minimalist, as many are complaining, or does that mean it's simpler, cleaner, and better? I like it better without the flames, but I understand everybody's has their own opinions on that.
Yeah, I want to see it. I'm going to urge people to guard here. CRA says, finally, we have the best uniforms ever. We haven't seen them. We don't know what they look like. We have an idea of what they probably are going to be in tone. But too many people are looking at what's on the internet and presuming that's what these are.
Swedish says, has this been confirmed as the primary new logo? Nothing has been confirmed. Nothing is confirmed. Not Easton. Nothing has been confirmed. I love you, Easton, but nothing has been confirmed. The only thing that's technically confirmed is we knew last year that the team said we're going away from navy as a main color in the uniform. Period. That's step one, right? If they
and
want
that they have that they're in the cycle of this rivalry uniform this year. So there'll be a third uniform this year, which if they have new uniforms this year, that's going to be weird because they're then going to not wear them on one Sunday
right.
to wear a rivalry uniform that'll be completely different.
Big 2033 says this logo to me can fit with any color scheme, whether they decide to go back to navy or gray. Here's the other thing. I think
there's no gray. It's silver. It's sheathing the sword, right?
Yeah, I hear
in
you.
a silver thing.
I hear you. What a stupid title. Of course they will. It's already been announced. No, it hasn't. Nothing has been announced.
Yeah. Go send me that press release. We all missed it.
I was going to say, I don't have that in my email box, PK. I love it. Here we go. King Titan. I love it. It looks good. All these wannabe Titan fans won't be happy no matter what Amy does. There's also an element of that too, right? People are frustrated with the owner. They don't like the job she's done over the last few years. So no matter what she does, she's going to take some flack for any major decisions that she makes. And I understand that. That's fair.
Well, also people can hate the current logo and they'll hate change from the current logo.
Yeah, exactly. And when people don't like change in general, so there we go. There's also that. I'm trying to get through a lot of you guys on the comments here. So let's see here. I love the Patriots ones. I assume you're talking about the is it the rivalry uniforms or the throwbacks? I like the ones they went to the 85 Super Bowl in are the ones that I like. Those are the ones I like a lot. So
not a good game, but a good uniform.
No, it was not. Okay. Sinkers Beverages, everybody. Let's give some love to our sponsor here. Sinkers Beverages, a local business that you can support by searching Uber Eats. If you live in other areas of the city, you can search Uber Eats and have that booze delivered directly to your house. They have an award-winning craft beer fridge. There is science behind having a couple of beers with your friends or even some strangers in person, in moderation. Actually good for your health. It's there's science there, PK. That's not just me saying that. They have an enormous bourbon selection, an enormous collection of wine experts that can help you make decisions if you're like me and you don't really know like what to do with wine or how to pick out wine or what does it go with or what's a good blend or what's a good grade. Like I don't know any of that stuff. They are fantastic. You walk in, you tell them what you need. They'll help you out with that. So make sure you are supporting good local small businesses right now. PaulKuharsky.com is one of them. 440 Sports is another one. Sinkers Beverages is one as well. And if you are getting out, make sure you swing by any of the small local businesses, especially restaurants and breweries in your neighborhood. It's really good to go support in general. 2026 is going to be a hard year economically for a lot of those businesses. 2 weeks of a freeze going to hurt those businesses as well. So if you can, and you can afford to spend a few more bucks at a local business, I recommend doing that. If you are in Wilson County, East Nashville Beer Works has an amazing tap room out there, kind of in between Mount Juliet and Lebanon. Yazoo Brewing Company in Madison sits right on the river on the Cumberland. You can overlook the river and have a cold beer. They got Grill Shack burgers up there. Fantastic OG local tap room. You've got Tennessee Brew Works downtown, which has the best food you will ever eat at a brewery, I promise you. And it's a great place to go to pregame away from the all the drama of Broadway. You can kind of it's off the beaten path, so you can pregame there and then go do whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a Preds game, Ryman Auditorium, you name it. You can get down there. So,
hey, I got one final thought on the old logo, and I wonder where people come down on this. It always drove me crazy, and I think this is a design question generally, and you with your design experience and where you come down. I used to see stuff that had it centered as a whole that drove me crazy. I always thought the ball should be centered, and the fire should come off of the centered ball. I think they sometimes had design questions, maybe not the team so much as the outfitters. But if I saw a hat that had the whole logo centered, I always thought it was off balance and looked ridiculous. I want the ball in the center of the hat and the flames coming off the ball.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think the vast majority, like if you're putting a T-shirt together and you're putting the logo in the chest plate, right? Which I don't, we don't love that. But if you're doing that, that's different. You can maybe shift it and center it on a chest plate. But if it's on a hat, the circle
still on a chest plate, I want the ball in the center.
The circle needs to be in the center. I agree with you on that. There's balance to graphic design that's really important. And frankly, the new one, and I'm not suggesting that this is going to be the new one here. This bottom left, I think, is a very rough. I think the one on the metal pick, but honestly, PK, I think the one on the metal pick up in the top right of the screen right now is probably the way closer to what it's going to look like.
There's no centering issue with the circle.
Bingo.
Anywhere.
A very clean logo. It's very balanced. It looks good in all the different colors. To some of your comments, to some of the commenters' points. Look, people go crazy for this stuff. I get it. Trust me. I understand when we got things wrong in the magazine or used the wrong uniform on a bleed photo of a player, and we used like a different uniform. Like people went crazy for that stuff. So like, I understand that people have a big deal. So yeah, the ball being centered here for Mason always looked better. The TriStar being so uniform is what really irks me. The TriStar on the flag is displaced because the three major cities placement in the state. That is correct. If you don't know that, it's why it's a little off, tilted to the side that way.
You might see it tilted properly on the paulkuharsky.com logo.
Well, again, it depends on what you want it to be, right? Like it's okay. All right. So we done with logo gate here. Let me ask you this. If it is actually happening and there is a brand new, not brand new, but modified, rebranded logo with some uniform stuff, does this come out well before the draft, or is it?
I don't know about well before, but it's got to come out. And I would think, based on how big a deal that ceremony was last time they did it, that they would do something like that. They haven't had a big Broadway event in some time. I would throw a party down there. I mean, I know they're not good right now, but the vibe is good with the new coaching staff, and
you got plenty of musicians that would do it, right? Like they could add to the party. So do a whole event. This is bad. This is going to stick in my head now.
Mike this has been out there.
Mike says Tennessee Tesla. I had not thought about that, but yeah, that part I don't like. I'm rethinking everything I've said in the last 42 minutes.
It also would make a good letter opener.
Oh, just like holding like the T, and you just can. Yeah, that's true. You could murder somebody with it. Yeah,
that's my marketing idea. Yeah, death tool.
Yeah. Letters and murder. It's great. It's great. Has to come out right after the combine, says Coach Wills. That's possible. All right, what do you make of the coaching staff? Full entire coaching staff got announced. I think it was late last Thursday and Friday. So we, thank you, Mike. You and I did not get a chance to talk about it on Monday. Anything philosophically that you believe about this coaching staff outside of their disdain for hair?
I love their disdain for hair. I mean, I had a sense that Ben Bloom was sticking around, and Travis Smith. I'm anxious to have a conversation about what those senior defensive assistant titles mean. They certainly, Travis Smith also has pass rush specialist. So maybe he gets his hands on people. I suspect Ben Bloom does not get his hands on people anymore. And I thought he was a pretty good hands-on coach. But those senior defensive assistants, senior assistants usually are work ahead guys, special project guys, observe from afar guys. So I'm kind of curious of what happens there. A lot of questions about the separation or the new chief of staff. Rob Dodona is chief of staff. Look, that's the glorified administrative assistant. I'm not demeaning the job, but Stretch was both that and the I'm looking for the title of the other guy, which I'm not going to find here quick enough. Offensive assistant / game management. So that's Cade Knox. So that was all one big job when Stretch had it. Tom Jones was chief of staff for Brian Callahan. Nobody cared about him. Nobody knew him. He's behind the scenes right-hand man to the head coach. So that's Rob Dodona here for Sala. And the other guy replaces Rob Reederer, who replaced Stretch in terms of the eyes and ears, on coaching strategy, timeouts, fourth downs, all of that kind of stuff.
Do you think that two last names, of course, caught headlines, and that is Ahmad Saleh, the cousin of head coach Robert Saleh, one of the newest members of the Titans coaching staff as well, a defensive assistant. And then, of course, Dave Borgonzi, brother of general manager Mike, of course, added as the linebackers coach. Obviously, the last names are going to raise some level of scrutiny onto their qualifications, which is not necessarily fair at all. Is it a real story? Does it actually matter to you? Or is it just every now and then the right guy happens to be related to you.
It matters to me. I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of qualified people trying to get their foot in the door with that defensive assistant job. It amounts to quality control job. You know, what are the odds your cousin is the best one out of that stack of resumes? You know, I've always thought, like, get your cousin, at the very least, like, get your cousin the job with the 49ers where you came from, and then give the 49ers guy that they want in your job. And at least you put some distance between it if it's got to happen. Yeah. I mean, it's the lowest ranking position on the staff, but you know, Jonathan Gannon and Arthur Smith had those positions on Mike Munchak's staff. So they turn into real jobs for a lot of guys. So it just doesn't feel good to me. And Dave Borgonzi, by all accounts, is a good linebacker coach. But they interviewed 8 linebacker coaches. And what are the odds that he's the best one? Mike Borgonzi removed himself from involvement in it, but what are the odds that Robert Saleh didn't feel a pull there? And is it not awkward that you are now the boss of your boss's brother? And what happens if something weird goes on there? It just leads to a lot of questions that don't need to be there. And you know,
that's fair.
Hopefully he's a good coach. And there are no questions, but coming in the door, while guys are going to try to be fair to Dave Borgonzi, and they know him, Aaron Whitecotton, the defensive line coach, just worked with him in Dallas last year. Isn't there a lot of opportunity for eye rolls for these guys and say, hey, I know the mountain I climbed, and it sure as hell didn't include being the GM's brother. So get my foot in the door here.
I think you make a lot of really good points, and I think you're factually correct in almost everything you say. And I will relate this to the Predators GM search right now, which there are 3 current front office people: Scott Nickel, Jeff Kelty, and Brian Poyle. Brian Poyle, famous last name, David Poyle's son. It does not mean that he's not a qualified candidate. It does not mean that he's not one of the best candidates.
Let him go be qualified somewhere else.
But if you hire him, it raises a bunch of questions. It raises a bunch of concerns, even if it's not founded. Even if it's unfounded, it just happens. And so you do open yourself up to the criticism. That's all. Look, Dave Borgonzi could be the best possible linebacker coach out of the 8 guys. He could be. It's very possible. In fact, based on it's a 13% chance just based on the numbers. but there's a chance that he is the best. So that's not fair to him to say that, but it does create more complicated dynamics, maybe unnecessarily, unless he is clearly and absolutely the best candidate for the job, which he could be.
Yeah, take that CRA question there. He says, my issue is taking 2 coaches from a Cowboys defense that sucks bad. And the D-line coach was really good and had history in the scheme. So I would say no to Dave Borgonzi. Well, look, this thing where we just take the last defense a guy was involved in and we judge him. I mean, did Denard Walker not deserve the Giants defensive coordinator job? I mean, we saw first. Let's use Denard Walker as the example.
Denard Wilson.
Yeah. Still make that mistake. He's a good coach. He had no talent. I mean, they traded Micah Parsons from the Dallas defense when these guys were getting started. I think it's far too simple to define a coach by how his unit performed the previous year without knowing all the details. You know, did he have a bunch of dogs? Was his head coach bad? Was his coordinator bad? You know, are there some young guys that are going to be good next year that didn't even have starting role? You know, there are all kinds of things. But if I think most of us in this room agree that Mike Vrabel has turned out to be a good head coach. And Houston's defense the year before he came to the Titans was not particularly good, and he was their defensive coordinator. And that was the bulk of his high level NFL coaching experience. It's too simple to just look at that.
Yeah.
Dave Borgonzi's got a good reputation, but again, what are the odds he was the best out of the 8? We don't know who the other 7 were, but I just think it creates things. Yeah. I always CRA have this Denard Walker getting burned in the on the Isaac Bruce play in the Super Bowl just burned in my head.
Well,
even though I know Denard Wilson now far better than I know Denard Walker.
Seems like it was an important play. If I'm gonna, so Coach Wells gets good points here. Coaching starts with trust. Who do I want in my foxhole? If I'm gonna fail, I will fail with the guys that I know. I get it, but also that's that can be the original sin for some coaches failing and their tenure's not working. Without knowing their
and he doesn't. I don't know how well Robert Saleh knew Dave Borgonzi. And we know how well Mike Borgonzi knows.
Well,
Dave
and we assume he knows Ahmed very well. Mike says, without knowing their last names, is their resume good enough for the jobs that they have? That's a fair question.
His resume is fine.
Yeah,
we don't know about the other 7 resumes.
All right, so coaching staff is finalized and in place. You're heading out to the combine next week. We're going to have lots of stuff for free agency as well coming. So don't miss any of that stuff. PaulKuharsky.com is the website. Sinkers Beverages is our great and amazing, wonderful partner and sponsor. You can search on Uber Eats and have them deliver beer and wine and cocktails, mocktails, THC beverages, ready to drink, the RTDs that are already pre-mixed in the cooler. You can do that. The allocation on the bourbon access, all of that can be sent directly to your house. I suppose if you want it to go to your office, you could. I suppose you could do that.
Office party.
At your own peril, depending on your corporate culture. Our entire corporate culture at 440 is that we have no corporate culture. That's the whole point.
That's beautiful. So
that's the whole point.
Heading to the combine, you have some guys that you know in the early stages of this would have considered drafting as high as 66. Now the media is catching up to how these guys are valued. Give us some people. Let's start at cornerback, who maybe, if the Titans are going to get hold of them, will need to draft higher than you previously thought.
Yeah, this is less combine and more. We're kind of halfway through the draft process here, or like the tape is the most important part of the process. Obviously, you go through a bunch of interviews, you go through the Senior Bowl, you go through personal relationship stuff at the combine, you do some testing to verify what the tape showed you. But what happens is the media and those of us sort of covering this stuff, we catch up to what the scouts and the people inside the NFL world think about these guys. That's how the information flows. If you look at Matt Miller or Mel Kiper or Daniel Jeremiah or any of these guys that do this stuff, their beat is the draft. They gain information and they adjust their boards, not because they love a player more, but because they hear from personnel people and front office people off the record and stuff. So this is kind of what this is. Players are flying up and down draft boards. Players are gaining in momentum and stock. At corner, for example, Keontae Scott for Miami is a nickelback who you could have gotten, according to mocks and consensus rankings, he was outside of the top 110. He was in the 115, 125 range for months, for all of December and January, played very well in the playoff. He is a true nickelback. Titans need all three. They need a boundary corner. They need a press man cover corner. They need an off-ball corner. They need a nickel corner. He's a guy that now, if you look at his consensus rankings, he's in the 50s. So that's a guy that you could have targeted at 101. Now you probably have to get him at 66, if not even earlier than that. That's a name that's flying up draft board. So that's going to happen over the course of the next, 3 to 5 weeks, where people are just going to all of a sudden, we in the media are going to catch up with what the NFL actually thinks about a player. And this is the whole Shedeur Sanders thing from last year. We were just all off on what the NFL actually thought about him. There's a safety out of TCU named Bud Clark. He also played a lot of corner in his days. He's a true cover safety, which the Titans need. They don't need an in-the-box safety. They need a cover safety. And so Bud Clark is a guy that was in the 150s and 160s just 2 months ago. Now he's almost inside the top 100. That's a guy that maybe you can get him at 101 when maybe you were previously targeting him at 140 or 142. Genesis Smith, safety out of Arizona. I guarantee you the Titans are higher on Genesis Smith than other teams are going to be on him. A true range, high point free safety. That's a guy who was in the 110s. Now he's up in the 60s and 70s. 66 is a slot where the Titans could veer off of their sort of corner receiver edge strategy, right? Like if you're looking at an interior offensive lineman, if you're looking at a tight end, if you're looking at a safety, that 66 pick is the one that could be the one that they decide to, the board dictates they go a different direction. At receiver, Zachariah Branch out of Georgia, a guy I really love. That's a guy who has moved up boards. He went from the 90s into the 40s. Like, that's a guy now that at 35 you might have to look at if you like him that much. He's an undersized slot guy, has a lot of polish he needs to add to his game, but extremely, extremely explosive. Malachi Fields had a great Senior Bowl out of Notre Dame. He's a true outside X-receiver, 6'3", big guy, great Senior Bowl. He went from 130s, now he's in the 50s. You're going to have to get him a lot. The cost of doing business for some of these players is starting to regulate. We're starting to see where they're actually from. So I haven't gotten to the edge guys yet, but any comments or thoughts, PK? I'll take a breath there.
Well, I can't have a slot guy, Branch, in the 40s. I understand the value of a slot guy, but I need a more diverse, potentially 3-position or certainly a outside guy in a too tight base. So I would scratch Branch if he's going to cost me that kind of premium.
I agree. I really loved him at 101. I thought about it at 66 as a second receiver. If you're going to double up and you trade back in the first and you get an extra pick, at 35, I'm out. I don't want him there. Couple of pass rushers I think you're going to keep an eye on.
And I like the sound about those safeties, but I don't know if I want a top 100 safety a year after drafting one in the third.
Here's one the Titans are not. I assume the Titans are not considering if he's there at 35, maybe. And I have seen some national folks talk about offensive line early in this draft more than I expected around the Tennessee Titans. But Monroe Freeling out of Georgia is a freakazoid of an athlete, and he was in the 90s at the start of this process, near a top 100 player. He is now probably a first-round pick, an elite sort of athletic left tackle for Georgia. If he's available at 35, that's the kind of player that all of a sudden the draft stock has skyrocketed. If he's available and you can actually get a starting left tackle at that spot. I know Georgia left tackles in the 30s causes some PTSD, but a very athletic player. I don't know what you make of offensive line. I think they need to look more at 101. If you want to get a guy like Logan Jones out of Iowa, I like offensive line at 101 maybe after you filled some needs.
I just am so receiver, edge, and then corner obsessed that I think they got to get things done there. But I will say, even, and Rex Road made a compelling argument about this when I was with him last week. Well, he didn't make this compelling argument. He made a compelling argument for offensive tackle. And I did say, they were replacing Mike Roos a year ahead of time when they were smart enough to draft Taylor Lewan. Best move Rustin Webster made as general manager, really. But you draft a primo left tackle now, and either he or Dan Moore is sitting, barring injury, and it's no crime to sit Dan Moore, but you're sitting a lot of money on the bench.
Uh-huh.
And then you've got depth at left tackle, which is great, while you, again, have used value to not pay or draft a corner or an edge or a receiver.
I like the first-round corners in this class. I think Jermod McCoy's really good. I think Mansour Delane's really good. I think Avion Terrell out of Clemson's really good. All those guys are more 14 to 18 kind of players. They are not top 10, 12 picks. I don't like the idea of drafting a corner with one of their premium slots. I think you can double up, and you could take, for example, Keontae Scott at 66, come back at 101 and get Chandler Rivers out of Duke. You could get the kid out of Oregon, Kennedy at 101. You might be able to come back and get any number of people at 101. There's so many good corners that you can get later in the top 100. I don't love the idea of drafting a corner with a premium slot. There's lots of comments about Messidor, Akeem Messidor out of Miami, who's the other more of a true defensive end, kind of pass rushing edge player rather than Ruben Bain. He is moving up boards quickly. I agree. He kind of went from the 60s into that 30 to 40 range. There's other names I kind of like better at 35. R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma is a pure DPR off the edge pass rusher. The name I really like, though, is Anthony Lucas out of USC. He is a true, I can play any position off the edge. He is got all the athletic ability. He's got the size that maybe Ruben Bain doesn't have. And I think he's going to move up boards as this process continues to go along. So he could be somebody available at 35 as well. Derek Moore's another one to keep an eye on. Michigan pass rusher.
Long.
He's more of a designated pass rusher. He was in the 110s. Now he's up in the 60s. I don't like that at 66. Little rich for my blood. So some of this is, I really like some of these players. They're moving up boards and they're doing it kind of appropriately. Like, oh, I really liked Keontae Scott. Now we're valuing him where we should. And some of it is Zachariah Branch or Derek Moore. That's too rich for my blood. I'm not going to spend that kind of money on a player that I think is a little bit more 80s and 90s, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm consistent with this. I don't like the limitation. I don't like the designated pass rusher. I don't like the slot. I need more full-time, more full impact.
Ryan says Zion Young out of Missouri. That is a guy who's also moved from the 50s up into the back half of the first round. He could actually, I've seen him mocked in the last 10 or 12 picks of the first round. So,
well, if everybody's moving up, we need to pair this next week with some people who are moving down.
We can do that. Problem is that when they're moving down at this stage, they're where they always were. You know what I mean? For example, Kyle Lewis out of Pittsburgh, who is a safety converted as a linebacker, great coverage linebacker. And this is a kind of a side note here. Make sure you're pairing characteristics with the current roster. There's lots of great linebackers in this class. I really like a lot of them. But the ones who are great against the run, you don't need them.
No.
You got one of those guys in Cedric Gray. You need a coverage backer who can pair with Cedric Gray and they can separate. And Kyle Lewis out of Pittsburgh is a guy who's flying up boards as well. Jacob Rodriguez as well out of Texas Tech. And, there's lots of guys like that. So just pair up your characteristics and, we'll see what happens. Other than that, Sinkers Beverages and go to a local tap room and have a beer, PK. Go to East Nashville Beer Works. Go to Tennessee Brew Works. Go to Yazoo Brewing Company.
I'll go east.
Why is you a hater, dude?
Well, I don't want to commute to my beer because I might, have a beer and spend some time and do some eating and drive home. And I'd rather the drive be significantly shorter than that. That's all.
And safer.
Yes. We may, I'm not sure what time my travel is on Monday. So advance warning that we may have to. We got
to figure out our schedule next week. Suss is up there as well. James Foster's going to be there. So we'll have lots of coverage from the network, from the combine. All you guys, great reporters doing boots on the ground stuff up there. So we'll have to organize we might be doing stuff at like 4 p.m. because that's kind of the sweet spot of, you got interviews in the mornings, you got late night, rubbing elbows. And then there's that sweet spot right there around 3, 4, 5. So we might have a totally different schedule next week. So just stay tuned.
That's when Nick likes to nap.
I don't know if Nick's a napper.
No,
I don't think
I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about
myself. Oh, okay. That's because the combine is not for old guys. It is a young man's game.
It really is not.
It's a young man's game, as I learned last year.
I dread it. It's productive, but I dread it.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. King says, PK is my friend. Keep up the good work.
Kong on comms. That's my guy.
There we go. All right, everybody.
Take care.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great week. We got SEC football, gold standard. We got all kinds of stuff coming for you this week. Nashville SC season starts on Saturday night. So Club and Country podcast is back up and running now. So covering Nashville SC should be a really good season for that club. Good offensive players. I know you're a big football fan. So make sure you check out the good local teams and all the great coverage. And make sure you subscribe, paulkuharsky.com. Thanks for listening. Nick and I are back on Thursday. Stay tuned for all of the coverage for next week as well. For PK, I'm Braden Gall. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Cheers.